OnSet, 12 o'clock edition. I'm going to say the date. I'm going to start saying the date. I think last week I said I was going to start saying the date, but then I was like, I'll start that next week. So this week I'm going to start it. It's July 13th, 2017. And we're going to do talk about using the gray background. This event actually came to light because I often joke about the fact that I always have the same gray background whenever I do these. I do these every single Thursday. If you're not aware and you haven't seen, we're here every Thursday at noon. We also live stream, so welcome people that are watching online. Hey, hey, hey. And you can check that out if you are not able to be here. You can check that out at youtube.com/Adorama TV. 12 o'clock we stream, you know, so if you're bored, you're at work, right? Like, who wants to work? So you can watch us there. So if I didn't say it, because I don't think I did, I am Daniel Norton. This is Dave. Fernando is going to help us out today as a model, at least at the beginning. We've got Seth on the mix over there. So yeah, I did the. Don't do that anymore. You know, like a DJ. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right?
It literally has nothing that does any spinning.
Well, they don't know that. See, Dave just gave that away. Like, they didn't know that online, and he doesn't know. Steve, yeah, well. You may be wondering why there's a guitar here. There's going to be I see you guys looking in here. You can come in if you want. Hey. Okay, they're trying to buy stuff. Stop bothering us. Okay, so we're going to... all right, so we're going to talk about shooting on a gray background. So we're going to kind of break this down. We're going to work... I want to start off by saying that in an ideal situation, if you know you want to shoot, let's say, on a pink background or a black one or a white one or whatever, you probably should buy that color background. It makes your life a lot easier. But oftentimes, we only have the one background. Let's say you run a studio and you put a roll of paper up. It's there. You're going to use it. Maybe you're spontaneously in the middle of a shoot. You want to change something. Or you just, you're just messing around. It's good to kind of have the facility to be able to control your environment. And this is all about control. One thing that I talk about a lot when we do lighting classes, especially why to use flash versus, let's say, constant light and things like that, is for a manner of control, right? So the flash is going to allow us, number one, to eliminate all the light in the space. We can see here that the windows are open. We have lights that are lighting me for the live stream. And the first thing we want to do is eliminate all of that light so that our flash is our only light source. And the way we do that is we're going to set our camera so that none of the ambient light is affecting our shot. So the first thing we want to do, and these things are always the same, we're going to set our shutter speed at the maximum synchronization speed for our camera. So in this case, it's 250, I think, for this camera. We're using the Canon D1X. It's either 200 or 250. Yeah, 200 is fine. And then we're going to set our ISO at the lowest of the base ISOs for the camera. So, of course, as always, most cameras have extended ISOs. If you go into that, though, you're going to introduce noise into your picture, so you want to stay within the normal range. So the range on this camera is like 100 to whatever. So 100 is the low end. So we're going to go 100 ISO, 200th of a second. Those numbers are the same no matter where I am, whether I'm right here, whether I'm over there, whether I'm at your place, where I'm at my studio. The third number is your aperture. That's going to vary depending on how much light is in the space, right? The less light that's in your space, the more wide open you can be if you choose to be. I think somewhere around f8 works for us usually in here, so we'll start there. If you don't know where it should be, there's a couple of ways to figure it out. One is to just set it somewhere in the middle of the range, which is around f8. Take a picture and look at it, right? Another one would be to use a light meter. You want to be probably 2 to 3 stops under the exposure, so just meter, either using the handheld light meter or the meter in your camera, meter what it should be, and then close down the lens until you're about 3 stops under. And then once we make a photo, we should hopefully get a black frame, which I think we mostly have, yep. So I'm in Capture 1 here, and you can see here that we pretty much have a black shot. One of the reasons why I like to shoot tethered, number one, because we're doing a presentation and I want to be able to show you guys, but even just in life, is that I'm actually looking at the raw files here. So I'm going to jump over into my kind of processing section. I'm just going to pull my exposure slider up, and I just want to see where I start to pull detail up. So he starts to come up around there. So that's about 2 stops. So I'm about 2 stops underexposed, which is good. I don't want to be just barely underexposed. I want to be at least a stop, 2 stops, maybe even 3 stops. And the reason for that is when I go into my files later in post, if I want to like bring the shadows up or something, I don't want to start introducing the light that's in the space, right? So I want to make sure I've got enough room there to move. So no matter what you're doing with flash, that's a good way to start so that we know that none of the light in the space is affecting our shot. Then we can start to control the light on our subject, the light on our background, or anything else as we please. So we're going to use, I think, a Profoto D2. And maybe we'll start with the umbrella. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to start with the idea of using a single light source to kind of get the background and the subject lit with a singular light. And even with that situation, we're going to have a manner of control because we're going to be able to use our inverse square law, as it would be, basically the distance between the light and our subject and the light in the background, to control the density of the light on the background, basically by moving it back and forth. So we'll start off with, we got a Profoto D2, I guess. I will try to say everything I'm using, but usually I stop doing this about 10 minutes into it. So if I don't say what something is, please ask, and I will say. I think I mentioned the camera already is a D1X. I just have a 24-70 on there, just kind of a general lens to show what we're doing. And we're using a Profoto Air remote to trigger the lights. Any questions so far? It is very humid out, right? Yeah. Whoosh. Yeah, I went out there, I was like, yeah, I know. Well, yeah, my coffee is on the laptop because Seth broke my, show it, the cup.
Tell Tether Tools to get it.
The cup holder of shame, see this? This is the Tether Tools cup holder that works perfectly with my table that was broken off. So now it's gonna have to sit on the laptop, and yeah, it's very sad. It happens. So I'll be careful not to knock it over, hopefully. Although if it falls over, it'll probably be pretty funny. So at least we're recording it.
Sorry.
It happens. All right, so we have an umbrella. This is a Profoto. I didn't do that. I think it's a 41-inch translucent umbrella, shoot-through umbrella. I'm gonna put my coffee over here so people are happier with it. I'll put it near the cameras. So that makes more sense. And basically, this umbrella, we're using it as a shoot-through. So you've got your light, right? It's coming in, it's going to hit the umbrella, it's going to spread out, and the umbrella becomes our light source. It's going to create a nice big diffuse light that's going to come and wrap around Fernando, make kind of an even light on him. Now we'll start off with the light. What I normally tell people when they first start lighting, or you kind of want general advice on portrait or whatever, is, oh good, I was waiting for you. I can only stall so long.
Sorry.
That never fails, by the way. Every single person that comes in, I'm going to do that, and they all say the same thing. Yeah. So, but one of the first things you want to do when you light somebody for a portrait, generally speaking, is you want the light to be soft. Soft light is light where the transition from the neutral or the proper exposure to the shadow is over a gradation, right? So it's a soft shadow gradation versus a sudden drop off, right? So are you going to try to steal my coffee? Is that why you came forward?
Sure.
All right. In order to create a soft light source, we want it to be large. So moving the light as close as possible to our subject is going to do that, right? So we're going to move our light in, and as close as possible for Fernando. That's how we're going to start, right?
Yeah. I was like, is that you?
I guess we're going to use a light meter. Wow, we're using a light meter today because sometimes people ask about that. So basically, we have a Sekonic light meter. This is a 308, I think. I'm going to say that's what it is, and we'll figure it out. And basically, Dave's going to set the light meter. He's going to put in the parameters of our ISO. He's going to put in our shutter speed. Then we're going to fire the flash. It's going to give us the f-stop that the light is set at, right? Then we can adjust our light until it reaches the settings that we want. So again, there's a few different ways you can use a light meter. Sometimes people will set up their light, and they say, let's say, for instance, I'm going to shoot somebody who's, I know they're going to be really energetic and moving around a lot. So I want to set my flash at a really low power because I want to recycle really quickly, right? So what I might do in that case is set up my flash, turn it down to really low, then use my light meter, see what my setting is, right? And then set my camera, right? Or adjust, let's say, the ISO on the camera to get what I want, a combination. We can't do that here because if we make any changes off of our initial exposure, then the ambient light might come in. So we need to set our flash to base that. All right, good. All right, so we have nice kind of soft light, kind of really simple, basic portrait. And we can see, at least people that are here can see, that the background is a little bit darker than it is to life. But it's not much darker. It's pretty close, right? And it's darker because the light is, of course, closer to Fernando, relatively speaking, than it is to the background. If we were to move Fernando to the background, let's say go stand next to it, right? No, we're not using TTL today. You know, I felt like making it more difficult. We like to mess around sometimes. Well, I get a lot of questions, you know. We often do use the TTL system in ProPhoto because it's there. TTL is a through the lens metering. So what that basically does is allows you to shoot the camera using the camera's meter to set everything. But we're using a handheld meter today just to kind of showcase the different technique of working. Yeah. So basically now we've moved no further from the light, right? So we're going to have to turn the power of the light up in theory. I always say in theory because lights sometimes are. Right. Again, we're not going to adjust our camera. If we adjust our camera, we might start bringing in our available light. We're going to leave our camera set the way it is. That's never going to change, at least for now. Never say never, right? It feels awkward for the coffee to be on this side, but I'll get used to it. Okay, so obviously, I mean, we're not worried too much about the shadow or whatever at this point, but now we've got Fernando looking a little mean, you know, he's a little hardcore. And the background is now much closer to what it looks like in life because the distance between Fernando and the background and the light in Fernando is so much smaller, right? So we're already, just by using that one, yeah. So we can see that our background has changed, you know, pretty dramatically as far as its density based on that. Just that's one simple thing. Now there's two ways to accomplish this. One is to, and they're both using the same science. One is to move Fernando close to the background. The other one is to move the light further away from both of them, right? So if we move Fernando back to where he was, roughly, right? And then we put the light, obviously we're not in a very huge space, so we'll do the best we can. We'll put the light as far away as we possibly can. Now again, this is about proportions. It's not about actual numbers really, right? So the distance between the light and Fernando and the distance between Fernando and the background proportionately needs to be close, if you will. Closer, I should say, in order to get the background to be lighter. Make sense so far? Cool. So the background is a roll of Savage gray background paper. I believe it's storm gray we figured out. Is that correct? Stone gray. Okay, so now again, we've moved the light, right? So now it's somewhere in the middle, right? In theory, if we move the light far enough back, it will eventually come to almost the natural exposure because this ratio, right? So you can kind of mix it up. Like we can move Fernando a little bit closer to the background, and then we can start finessing it. But if we had more space, we can move the light back a little bit further, and we can start to get the background to be lighter. Yeah, we could probably get. Oh, you're gonna go darker, okay. So we're gonna try to go even darker with the background. And again, still using an umbrella right now. Obviously, different lighting tools are gonna give us some more options, which we'll switch into eventually, but we're starting with an umbrella because it's nice and simple. Most people have umbrellas. Yeah, it's always, you're asking online about if the price point of the lights. Always spend as much as possible. Or buy the cheap ones, then give the extra money to me. Either option, no. What you're paying for when you buy lights is usually reliability and consistency, right? That's both in whether or not they're going to work, and also in power and color temperature. So if you have a light that is more expensive, generally speaking, and you took 1,000 pictures of this gray background, they would all be the same, right? That's what you're paying for. If you buy a cheaper light, they probably won't all be the same. Whether or not that affects your particular work or at the level that you're at is up to you, you know, where you are in your career, right? I can say that I started off with cheaper lights, and then when I had bigger jobs, I rented more expensive lights until I could afford them. So don't feel like if you can't afford the most expensive lights, you shouldn't buy any lights. Sure, start with what you can afford. No. No, actually we're using a Canon, not a Sony today. But Fernando is a big Sony shooter. He's one of the Sony, I bought a Sony camera guys. Right. Well, that's a true statement, right? All right, so now we've got, it's a little bit darker. Now, It's a little bit darker. We could probably actually work the angle of the light to get the background even darker, possibly. Can we feather it off, maybe? So now we can start working. So let's say we want to get it even darker, right? And we've only got this umbrella. So, I mean, we're going to use a softbox eventually, but we'll just try to do it with the umbrella first. So we're just going to spin the light, because if you notice this whole time, one of the reasons why I use a bigger umbrella is the more, it makes it softer, obviously, but the more surface area also gives you kind of positioning options, right? So if you noticed how it was positioned, we kind of had a lot of the light going past Fernando. We can actually, wrap the light around this way more to get more of the light kicking off to the side, which should, theoretically allow us to get it slightly closer. Also, get it so it's not pointing so much to the background. Right now we're trying to eliminate light from the background to get it as dark as possible with the umbrella. And then we're going to swap to a softbox, which is going to be much easier to do the same process with. Yes, please send me a cup holder, 42 West 18th Street. I did it again. You'll have to call me out every time I do it. Mm-hmm. That's good. I probably would not have dropped the coffee on my laptop until somebody mentioned it. Now it's destined to happen. So, and that's the one thing they'll never fix, right? You bring it to Apple, they're just like, no, coffee spilled on this. You're like, no, it didn't. No, they know. They always know. Yeah, you know. All right, questions so far? No. They need to make it waterproof, right?
Studio.
Nice. Okay. That's that's the right way to answer the phone.
Next hour? Next hour?
Black Sabbath, yeah. Get my Black Sabbath Converse on today. Thank you. Yep. That's why we have the guitar here. We're going to do a little. We're going to rock out. I know like half a chord. Sure, speed lights would also work. The theories are pretty much the same. So the question online about using speed lights, you can certainly use speed lights for this. All right, so now, and again, we're using the same large umbrella, and what we've done is Dave's got the light much closer to Fernando. So again, we're using the inverse square law, but we're also using the idea that the beam angle of the light, right, is before it was like this, right? If you were the background, it's like this. Now it's like this. So we've got less light hitting the background regardless of whether or not it was closer to him or not. But it's also, look how close that light is to him. Don't be afraid to get the lights in nice and close. Close lights are going to create nice soft light across the person's face, nice smooth transition in the skin. It is going to give you a lot of drama too, because you'll have really abrupt fall off. Because the same reason that the background is dark is the reason why the other side of Fernando's face is dark, right? The light is much, much closer to one side of his face than the other. So it's getting dark really quickly. That's really why that's happening. Okay, questions about that? Good, that's easy. All right, so now let's try to light the background, right? Let's put some lights on the background. That was just using the singular light. Let's just throw light at the background. Why not? I've got a couple other lights here. We have another Pro Photo. We have the B1. This is it's never a good sign when I start touching the lights, but I'm sorry. This one's a B1, which is the battery-powered equivalent. This is 5A. What is that?
1. So 1.
This was the test to see if I could remember how to do that. And I did. 1B. Dun-dun-dun. Would this be considered Rembrandt? I don't think so, not technically. I mean, a lot of times people throw that term around. I think to technically be Rembrandt, I think you have to have the triangle, the perfect triangle on the shadow. It's Rembrandt-y. It's in the style of it. I think in order to get a perfect Rembrandt, you can't have people move because you've got to have that light exactly there. So if you're being technical, probably not, but it's certainly a good 45-degree, it's a good way to shoot guys. I mean, I probably would raise the light a tiny bit if we were trying for a perfect, but that's just me. All right, so, yeah.
You avoid blowout on the skin when the light is that close. Turning down the light.
Yeah, so the question is how do you get the proper exposure, I guess. Well, we're using a light meter to get the right exposure. This is a Pro Photo B1. So now we're going to light the background, maybe like a stop brighter than the subject.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let
Yeah. So basically, we're switching back to our original thing. We're going to try to get the background nice and bright. So the question online, just to cover one thing at a time, is how do you not have the skin blow out? Well, it's just a matter of metering the light. You meter the light, you set your exposure properly, then you take a shot, and if you watch for your highlights to make sure they're not blowing out. A soft light will typically have really fast fall off, but also the other thing here is the light is not just soft, it is also diffuse, right? We're using a giant white umbrella. The white umbrella is a giant piece of diffusion. Diffuse light is light that brings down the highlights. So that's going to help with your highlights blowing out. It's going to help neutralize your highlights. So if you had a huge light that was very specular, like let's say this was a huge silver umbrella, you might have some highlights popping out on the skin, especially if he was particularly hot, or if we were using makeup, let's say, that was shiny. Aha, well, you're getting ahead of me. Okay. Wow, okay, a lot of comments today. So, yeah, we'll keep notes of that. Okay, so there's a few questions online that I'll try to answer. We do food photography sometimes, so maybe we will shoot my coffee. Although not unless I get to drink it. Can it be done with continuous lights? Sure. The same theories are going to be true no matter what source you're using. You're using cheap strobes, expensive strobes, speed lights, continuous lights. The power of flash, though, is that we have a lot more control over it, right? If I had continuous lights in here, I probably wouldn't be able to get it black because I'd have to overpower all the light in the space. I'd have to close these windows. I'd have to turn off the lights in the store. So it might be a little more difficult, but it is definitely possible. We have to switch the lights. So this is a 500 watt second light, and I think this one's 1,000. So we're trying to get this, we're gonna have to open, now again, the background is gray, right? So in order for us to get it to be bright, we need to actually overexpose it. And the thing here is that we wanna make sure that we can get the light across the background even enough and get it overexposed, but not so overexposed that it's gonna flare, because once it becomes white, it's going to be a light source, right? And a light source from behind your subject can flare your lens. So you got to kind of watch that a little bit. One trick to doing that is once we get this set up, is we can meter from the back of the subject's head towards the background. And as long as that exposure is not brighter than the frontal exposure, then you shouldn't flare. You know, in this kind of situation.
I went one stop over.
One stop? Okay, let's try it.
We have a pure white. It's about the same theory. I'm asking, not saying, I'm asking.
Yeah. So the question is, the gentleman came to the how to shoot on a gray background and was asking me about shooting on a white background. I like that. So yeah, I think I lost the camera. Can't show you. Okay. The question is white background, purple background, whatever. Yeah, the theory is the same, sure. Now the difference would be, in order to make the white background white, obviously you wouldn't have to overexpose it. You would just expose it normally. To make it gray, you'd have to get even less light on it, right? But yeah, all the theories are the same. Do we lose our? Okay. All right, so there we go. I mean, again, we're only using 2 lights. Ideally, in this situation, we want to use 3 lights. In fact, we have 3 lights. We could do it. So yeah, it wakes them up. Again, now our background is getting whiter. Actually, let's use 3 lights just to kind of do it correctly.
Yeah.
Why not? Because we have 3 lights today. This is a Elechrome Pro HD 500. With the tiniest cord ever known to man.
Holy crap. That's
Wait, there's another one. Yeah, there's an orange one.
This is actually what if you buy a light on April Fools, this is the light cord they give you. Okay. I think it's also short. I think Seth's messing with us. I like it. So we're going to light it with 2 lights. It's going to make it more even, and also we'll have to use a little bit less power. But you're getting the gist of it right now. We're getting the background. We're overexposing it, right? And again, we're watching out for that, that flare from the background. That's going to be important. We went from a super short cord to like a really long one. There's no in between in photography. It's like,
So you say turn the light all the way background pitch black. So if you're using a beauty dish, same thing in the background, so it'll be blacked out.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part.
Okay, so if you're, for like how before we just lit the background up and it was fully blacked out, right? If you're using a beauty dish with the same concept still apply?
Right. So the question is, if I was using a different, specifically a beauty dish, but using a different modifier, yeah, absolutely. In fact, if with something like a beauty dish, which is a much smaller by its nature modifier and much more controllable, it would be even easier to get the background dark. It would be harder to get it to be lighter, right? Because you wouldn't have as much. Yeah. That's correct, because in order to get enough spread from the beauty dish, you would need to back it up further, which would make it even harder. So assuming you wanted a soft-ish light, yeah, I mean, the reason why we started with the umbrella is it's a little bit trickier to do it with the umbrella. So yeah, a beauty dish would be, and we have one somewhere. We'll get to the beauty dish. Maybe we'll use that after when we start doing colored background light, because one of the things that you want to keep in mind is once we, is that celebrity sighting? Celebrity sighting.
Power issue, it's not gonna work.
Oh, it's not working. Okay, we have a power issue, so we're not going to do that. Yeah. Ah, we have a broken light. Yes, please. No. Yeah. Somebody, anybody, everybody, right? Well, he was the DJ. That's what they. No, they don't do that anymore, do they? I'm aging myself there. Okay, so we're going to try to get another light. You do it. At your
My
parties.
partner, he sometimes do.
Your partner's a DJ. Nice. Nice. He's the DJ and you're the rapper.
I'm a photographer. Just a photographer.
Right? Right? You get that reference right there? Right. Fresh Prince, first record.
You just put the light central.
Yeah, we'll put it in the middle. So we're just going to put it in the middle to make it a little more even. So yeah, so one of the things that you want to keep in mind is that we're kind of doing broad strokes here. And we can get more specific as we go, of course, but yeah, a beauty dish, an umbrella, all these will matter. And of course, the size of your light source and how much it spreads and stuff is going to make things either harder or easier to control, which is going to make a difference, to your success. Using a softbox would be probably the most obvious thing to do to keep the background dark, because a softbox gives you more edge control, or a beauty dish. We use an umbrella because it makes it a little trickier, right? Yeah. So that's a Flashpoint Rapid 600. Nice Flashpoint. For all you people out there that from Flashpoint, see?
I use Flashpoint.
Yeah, they're good, right? Flashpoint is the house brand of Adorama, so it's a pretty affordable light. You like it?
I got the one with battery. I carry everywhere. I'm from Florida, from Miami,
Nice.
where the light is always strong. And I use it to fill up and the sun will shine. It's
Oh, nice.
great.
Yeah, so there you go. Cool. All right. So yeah, so you could use the light outside, battery powered light, not this one, but the battery powered version as well.
I got the first, which is not video.
Yeah, a little more even. Cool. Yeah, I had to bring it up a smidge. Cool. All right. So we're making some adjustments, and then we'll even switch models at some point. I'm ready, but she's going to be too tiny, I think. You're only that big. Would you? We have a celebrity sighting, and she's going to come and help us. This is Jackie. For a second, I thought you were barefoot,
Oh, really? Yeah.
which is a cool look, but maybe not in New York. So Jackie's going to step in to show us how much better that she looks than Fernando.
Way better.
See, Fernando knew I was going to say that, and that's the reason why he's making the expression that he is in this last photo that is not up on the screen so nobody can see it. Still not up on the screen. Still not up on the screen. There's a union for that. Hopefully they didn't see me do it. All right. That's the look that Fernando gives me when I make that comment. So there we go. White background with the gray. And again, we don't have any lens flare coming over. We didn't even do it. But like I said, if you were to meter the back, you just want to make sure that, let's say we were getting lens flare. To make sure we kill that, we would just make sure that we're metering the back of our head, and we want to make sure the exposure is never over what the lens is set at. So if we're shooting at f8 or whatever, we want to make sure that we're not getting more than f8 at the back of our head. This is not true of all hair lights. This is true of when you're lighting the background like this. Because again, it's almost like if you were to take a softbox, let's say, and put it behind somebody and use it as the background. Same situation. You don't want it to overpower the light coming forward or you will get flare. Which could be a look. Give me one more look, right? We're going to keep track of these. Cool. All right. Can you get that one going before you go, Fernando? Can you get the other light going? Yeah. Well, Dave adjusts. No, Dave, you're good. Do what you're doing. I just want to make sure it's working before you. Right. Right. We have electric and we have a gaffer. Oh, your supervisor. Sorry. Okay. Okay. And it worked? All right. Nice. Good. As long as we know it's functional just before you leave. What lesson did we learn today? Test the lights before you go live. Would a painted background work? Well, a painted background is going to have texture. So you could do the same things we were doing so far. You'd have a hard time making it white probably because of the nature of it. But certainly you could do that. Yeah, so that's white. Well, let's get it with Jackie so we make sure everything's still the same. Yeah, let's same thing, and then we'll start from scratch. That's Fernando's new picture for the Adorama website. Since you have a huge beard in the other picture. As do I. Apparently, they took our employee pictures in the middle of the winter when we all had beards, and now like they finally put them on the website.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. Questions? Answers? No. Okay. Ah, interesting. Yeah. All right. I'm going to make some quick power adjustments. Okay, so we're just getting it set up. We had to make some slight adjustments with a different subject in there. Yes, back to. I'm half and half. I don't know which camera I'm supposed to. Oh, you don't care about me is what you're saying? You still want me to move out of the way. There we go. That's perfect for your high school picture. Good to go. So now we have control of our background, right? We've eliminated all of our light in our space. So we're creating actually what is a white background with a gray, and we're creating nice pretty light across Jackie's face, and she's good to go. Now, we're getting requests. I'm like a jukebox here. Do they still have jukeboxes? They must still have those, right? No? You're making a face. You still have that, right? And Pizza Hut, exactly. At your table. Yeah, there you go. So are you gonna add a hair light? Oh, okay. Figuring out how to use it. We're going to add some color to the background. Now we're going to start playing around with some color. Here's the other reason why we want to make sure that we have control of our background as far as the flaring issue, right? Because if we start to light the background to color and we are getting flare back, we're going to start getting a lot of fringing in the hair and stuff of the various colors. We're going to get it a little bit anyways because we're overpowering the background, but we want to prevent that as much as possible because we don't want to get too much of the wrapping around, because if we were getting like highlight here, like I'll show you. Like if we look at the photo, you see our shoulders are not blown out, right? Oh, I got all kinds of touchpad stuff going on here. Okay. You see how we're not getting, like right there, it's a little bit of highlight. Like that's going to turn color when we do the background, but that'll be fine. But if it was like a massive wraparound, we would probably have issues with that. So maybe we'll add a little color back there?
For the backlight.
Yeah. What color do you like, Jackie? Blue?
That's their request, we're blue and purple.
Blue. See how I had her pick? Because nobody will hate on her. If I pick a color, people are like, Daniel. No, blue is nice. It matches the color of the sky. It's also the official Adorama color. Low key. Well, yeah, I mean, kind of. You mean like a dark background? That's probably when most people say low key, which is, we already did that. Let's roll back. You mean like that? By the way, changing the light to that also makes it a dude. This is the same setup except with the light turned off in the background, basically.
Yeah, you just said, sorry, I didn't know I missed this.
No, it's okay. That's why I was just making sure that it wasn't something different, because sometimes people use a term that we're not on the same page. So yeah, basically the difference was when we went to the more low-key look was we turned the umbrella a little bit more to the side, trying to change the direction of it so less of it hits the background, and then we turned off the background light. And that gave us a dark background. Because it has to do with the positioning between the light and the subject. Light very close to our subject, very far from the background, relatively speaking, is going to make the background dark. Question?
When it comes to shooting with like
So you're asking about shooting with the gobo, like a pattern, gobo pattern? Well, if we were putting a gobo pattern, where would I put it? It would depend on the pattern, right? And this is actually a good question because we actually shot last week. Was it last week that we did the dialogue? I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we, thank you. And we used a gobo. And at first we had placed it somewhat kind of close to the camera angle.
Tape might work. If you want to try tape.
And then when we looked at it, we didn't really like the way it looked on the wall. So we actually changed its angle to create a different shape with the gobo. Because sometimes you want your gobo to stretch across the wall. Sometimes you want it to be coming down. So it depends on the look. If you're trying to get, if it's like, let's say it's words and you want it to be perfect, you would put it so that it's flat. Yeah, if you want it like it's a window and you want to create mood. One thing I will say is if you do that, and maybe we'll do that, we'll see. Let's say you're throwing a window, you want to also think about how you're lighting your subject so it makes sense. Because one of the biggest problems with using gobos, especially, oh, there we go. That is blue.
Yeah. So
Now we can see that one problem that you'll have with lighting with a single light for the background, well, first of all, it's a little bit overexposed, but is that there's going to be a hot spot in the center, right? So we can see that it's not a perfect even blue. We would not be able to achieve a perfectly even blue unless we have more distance, probably. And also, Dave's going to turn this to get less of the frontal light off the background. Maybe also pull this one back, you think, too? Or, yeah. So, because remember, every light you have, it has a certain amount of spread. Fernando's going. He's going to edit some cool videos for Adorama. Make sure to subscribe to Adorama TV. You'll see all the videos that Fernando edits. We make our video editors be models when we don't have a model. So you have to, when you come in, it's like a casting. When you come to work here as a video editor, we're like, let me see your model, and they, and if they can do it, then we hire them. So yeah, so this light is 120 degrees of spread. So it's going to be hotter in the center than it is. Two lights would be more even. We'll be able to get it pretty good. Okay. Okay, that's good. So now that's the low key. There you go, for the guy who asked for that, or a girl. Okay. Cool. Maybe dial that down a bit. Yeah, I think we're going to lower the power on the backlight a little bit. Lowering the power should increase our saturation, right? So this is actually an important thing when you're messing around with colored gels or you're doing anything where you're manipulating the background, is turn lights on and off to see what they're doing. So, sometimes when you start to incorporate multiple light sources, you kind of lose track of what's doing what. So, Dave had turned off the background light so that he could see what exactly his foreground light was doing. And that's how we knew we weren't getting anything on the background, which helped us then shape the light. So now we've gone down in power. Okay. Okay, so yeah, that looks pretty good. I think. Let me look on the actual computer. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So okay, so the question about a gray card, like a exposure gray card or a white balance gray card. Yeah. Well, the thing is that the meter is essentially the handheld meter, which is what we were using. Dave established his base exposure using a handheld meter. Remember, the meter gives you the exposure. This is true of the meter in your camera. This is true of TTL. This is true of a handheld meter. The meter gives you the exposure that it thinks is correct. But a meter is not you. You know, a meter is not an artist. So you need to use your meter to get a baseline. That's where you start. Then you take some test shots to figure out. Even when people used film and you couldn't see the shots right away, you still did that. You did tests with films when you first got them and you knew, okay, I like to meter this film a little bit differently than other films because that's how it works. Same thing with digital. You might meter on this camera, you might meter slightly different than you meter a different camera, or with these kind of lights or with these kind of gels. So you keep that in mind. So we set our base exposure using our meter, then we adjust accordingly, either tweaking the light up and down intensive stops to get the final exposure that we like, right? And over time, you'll get used to how your camera works, it'll just be faster for you. Okay, cool, so it's blue. Now, theoretically, we can make it just about any color that we have. What other colors do we got? What other color do you like, Jackie? Purple? Purple? You like purple? It's a pretty good color, right?
Yes.
I'm more of an indigo person. Yeah, I mean, it's not lit perfectly. We could make it look nicer. You say you're not, he's like, no, I don't care about the background anymore, make her look better. Yeah, well, what's happening is, so you've got a couple of things going on. Her hair is not so much shine, it depends on what you mean by shine. Where it's being hit by the light, it's not so much shiny right now because the nature of her hair is not tremendously reflective anyway. Some people's hair is more reflective than others. But also, again, large diffuse light source is going to reduce the amount of contrast in our highlights. So that's going to happen anyways. If you mean like it's kind of dull in the thing, that's because we probably should add a third light. We need to add some kind of like separation light over here or something if we want to really tweak it out. Yeah, I mean, that's what I would do if I was trying to make a finished portrait. We're more kind of thinking about the background now, but we could do that too. Oh, wow, okay. That's purple, all right. Yeah, we could do that. Let's put another light in. Let's use this Flashpoint Rapid 600 R2.
You want to put it what side?
I was going to put it over that side. Yeah, opposite now. I usually like to put my hair light opposite, just because I do. Oh, that's interesting. Oh.
That's for the...
Oh, for an umbrella. That's cool. All right. Oh, there's no modeling light, so we're going to have to eyeball it. Somebody stole our modeling light. Oh, this is fancy. Is this the one that you use? We might need help with this one. I haven't used it before. All right, so we're going to set this guy up, and we're going to give it a little bit of a hair light. Nah, we'll figure it out. It's not like we're live or anything on the... Do you have a bulb? Where would you get it from? Oh, you can get one, sure. Sure, if you can do it. Why not? I never say no to a bulb. Thanks, Seth. This is why I should turn off my internet when I'm doing this, because people are seeing all my messages that I'm getting. Turn Wi-Fi off. There we go. My mom was sending me messages. She was like, stop screwing up the live stream. No, that's not true. She just yells at me after. Yeah, this is just going to be an optical slave, because of course it doesn't have, that's a good question. This is now a different system. So this comes down to all the people who ask about mixing lights and using speed lights and whatever. Sure, we're using a completely different flash that's not part of the same system. Almost all studio strobes have what's called an optical slave built in, or optical sensor. And what it will do is when it sees another light fire, it will go off. So essentially, we'll trigger our main light, it will trigger this light, and then we'll be able to get our settings. And Dave's just going to kind of eyeball it until we get a modeling light. All right, good. So we got the purple background. We're getting a little bit nicer light on her. Now she can actually use it for her high school picture graduating this year. Not this year.
If you were using any like universal triggers in a different, like the other platform, the other photo, can you put different triggers in for results and still wirelessly shoot them along at the same time or not?
So I think the question is like trigger systems working together. Like, is there a universal? Well, yeah. If you use a lot of different systems, then you may want to buy something that's not proprietary. Like, let's say buy a Pocket Wizard. Pocket Wizard is going to work with everything. It's not going to give you TTL. It's not built in. So if I'm starting from scratch and let's say I know I'm buying ProPhoto, it probably makes sense, or Ellen Chrome, or probably Flashpoint if they have their own system. It probably makes sense to buy the one that's for the system you're buying because it'll be built in. So not only does it save you a little bit of money because it's built in, but also you have the idea that I don't have an extra piece of equipment I have to worry about, right? It's built into my system. So probably what I would do is if you're starting with nothing, the first lights you buy that have one that's built in, I'd probably go in that direction. You know, I mean, that would. I used Pocket Wizards for a long, long time because I started before everything had them built in. Actually, the ProPhotos used to have them built in, and now I use the Air remotes because I mostly use ProPhoto stuff. But certainly you can use, and I still have my Pocket Wizards because I'll never give up those multi-maxes. They're so good. Thank you, Seth. Yeah, I mean, Pocket Wizards are, you know, kind of a standard for a reason. They're very reliable and they're a good system. You know, I can't say anything bad about that. You know, like most things I was saying earlier about the lights, most photo products are that way. You're paying for reliability and durability. So, again, you can get cheap radios. Don't not buy a radio because you can't afford a Pocket Wizard, but know that you'll probably get more reliability if you spend a little bit more or whatever. Right?
The original, the Flashpoint I got has built-in
Nice.
radio, but it doesn't allow the high-speed sync.
Ah.
So I have to add an extra radio in order to sync, to do the high-speed sync.
Ah.
So I use the Yongnu.
Yeah, so there you go. So you've got a system like the Flashpoint system that has its own proprietary radio, but you don't use it because it doesn't do all the things you want it to do. So you use the other system. So yeah, I mean, you know, it all works. There we go. Now we have a third light. You know, that we're kind of getting there. We don't have any modifiers for this one. That's probably a little bit harsh. You can see how specular this light is, especially on her skin. For some reason, my pinchy's not working very well today. There we go. And you can see that detail, right? All the models love when you blow up really close to their skin and show all the detail. You know, this is all specular highlight here, which probably if I was building this out to be a nicer shot and we had planned for it, I probably would have some kind of modifier like a softbox on this one or a piece of diffusion or something. But, you know, it's fine. Just to get the general idea, that's probably what I would do for this. Questions? Answers? No? Let's switch out to a softbox just because we haven't, and I feel like it's always good to switch to a softbox. Yeah. At halfway through, we have to switch to a softbox always. It's like that's how you do it. Oh no, but we had a request for a beauty dish. Would you rather see a beauty dish?
Beauty dish, at some point, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll do a beauty dish. All right, no, we're getting beauty dish requests. But let's just switch. Let's just go beauty dish.
What umbrella was that?
That was a ProPhoto. I think it's medium. Medium translucent or large. Deep translucent medium. Whoever asked that, I don't know who asked that. Deep translucent medium. There we go. I almost dropped it. You know this is a good beauty dish because it has the brown mark on it. This is like the seal of approval. So this is a beauty dish. People who don't know, it has a grid on the front of it. Should we do with the grid or without? Oh, wait, okay. So what the grid is going to do is it's going to give us a reduced angle, right? So a beauty dish in and of itself has about, I don't know, like 100 or so degree spread. It's got a pretty decent wide spread. With the grid on it, it's only 25 degrees. It says right on it, 25 degrees, right? So it's going to be really tight.
Is that silver or white?
It's a silver, yeah. It's silver, but it has extra diffusion from the dust. And the dent, right? The dent adds to the quality of it. It's been through a lot. This guy's lived through a lot. Oh, it does have a big dent. Where did that happen? Really? I never noticed it before.
Maybe not.
No, that's a pretty, look at that. That wasn't there before.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah.
You can put
Well,
it out. You can put it out
yeah, we'll pull it out. With a
with
little,
a piece of wood and a hammer.
yeah.
The wood.
You do that for us?
No.
Okay.
So you know how to do it.
Seth will take care of it. Yeah. It's not that he dented it, it's just that you're responsible for the space. Speak a little slower. Well, I could try, but there was some coffee that was consumed earlier, and I was supposed to have tea, but then the hot water wasn't working. It was a bit of a mess. The grid adds more drama. I like that. Sure, why not? I mean, what the grid does, technically what the grid does is it narrows the angle. But the grid is black, right? So having the grid on the front of your box is going to actually add a bit of contrast because it kind of works almost like negative fill, although it's at the position of the light. So it does actually add a little bit of contrast besides narrowing the beam. So it certainly does make things more dramatic in almost all cases. The main purpose of it, though, is to keep the light off the background. You notice, too, that Dave changed into the would be closer to a butterfly lighting scenario, which is pretty much my go-to when photographing women. I don't like to generally photograph women from the side because shadows across a woman's face is not usually considered to be a beauty standard. Usually you want to keep the shadows low, it narrows the face, you know. But we started off with Fernando, so. You got a leftover Fernando light. Yeah, so this will create a little bit more drama to the light. It's going to centralize it. And by the way, this, if you think about it, this is essentially like Dave having a flash on top of his camera. No, it's not. Kind of, though, but not really. Yeah. So now, remember, though, with the light this close, right, one thing that you're gonna find is your angle, bless you. The angle of the light is also going to, oh, wow, okay. You're so happy. So the angle of the light, it's a little hot, is going to affect the shot, right? So basically our light is you don't want to do too steep of an angle because you like to be overexposed?
I like this one, yeah.
Yeah, oh, she likes this one. Models like beauty dish. That's why you buy it. Then we should put that as a tagline on it. Models like these.
We'll put it over the dent.
Yeah, over the dent. So we want to put the light so that it's even across her face. So like if you were to work her chin down with the light in this angle, her forehead would get really bright. Oh, that made me much louder. That's interesting. But her forehead would be very bright if her head was down because the light is at this angle, right? So be wary of that when you're posing somebody with this type of. Okay, I think I came unclipped. That's why I was getting a little crazy there. Better? You didn't notice any difference, did you? Seth knows, so he's got the ear for it. Perfect, all right. So now, right, in order to kind of complete this, maybe we'd want one of these special reflectors that Seth sells for $300 a piece. I think it's right there, isn't it? He knows where they are now because he's keeping them in stock.
I got a giant one now or two?
Oh, and you got a bigger size.
And there's a pizza box for them.
Yeah.
Do not touch the pizza box.
Right. Look at that, see, well trained. You can put drinks on there. Let me get my coffee, hold on. Perfect, don't drop it. That's how you know it's right at the right angle. You gotta put the coffee on there for like a level. So we're gonna bring this in a little bit. Now, notice too, by the way.
Yeah, I should have the focal length.
That's a good question. Focal length. Maybe between 50 and 70, around 60.
I think it's
Now, we switched to this silver beauty dish, and you can see, as I show, oh, does it give you the exact? 60. Yeah.
59, 60,
Yeah.
basically.
You can see some specularity down. This is her
Now it's 60.
upper chest area. You can see some specular highlight, right? We're starting to see the specular highlight in her skin. Like she's getting more contrast because she's got a silver beauty dish, which can be really nice. You're getting it under her here, you're getting it there. It's adding more contrast to her. So you've got this combination of the black, of the grid kind of bringing in the shadows, and then you've got the specularity, so you're adding a whole bunch of contrast, which can look really nice. And actually it changes the shape of the face. You know, it doesn't look at all like Fernando now.
Would that effect still be in the same place if it was a white beauty dish?
You'd have more, so the question is the difference with the white beauty dish. The white beauty dish would not have the specular highlights as much, but it would have the darkness. So you'd get that kind of, your black should be a little bit blacker, but you wouldn't have the specular highlights. It'd be a little bit smoother.
We're asking about skin tone versus specular highlights, like if different skin tones, dark and light.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. So the good question about, this is why they make all different stuff. You know, like not just to sell everybody people things. I mean, different things do different stuff, and depending on somebody's skin tone and what they're wearing and how they look, they're going to be affected differently. The silver beauty dish can be really hard on certain people if you have very oily skin, if you get a lot of makeup on. So be wary of that. That's why it's mostly used for like young models and beauty stuff. If you're going to buy one, I'd probably go with the white one because it's probably a little bit more gentle, just because you're not going to have that heavy specular highlight.
Also asking, would you drop the hair like down power?
Yeah, we could drop the hair like down in power. It does seem a bit hot. Dave, you did?
Can you guys show two pictures at the same time? To show
Sure.
with or without the whiteboard?
I think I did it. It's really confusing, the back of that machine. No, it's not confusing. It's awesome. With and without the board. Sure, we can do it with and without the board. Well, hold on.
What?
Do it with and then without the board. Like one right after the other. Don't screw it up. All right. Yeah. And then no board. Board and not board. Okay. So we'll see what it's doing. That's still a little bit.
I don't think the board's close enough.
Needs to be a little closer to really get a full effect. We're getting a little bit of fill under her chin.
Red too, which is
Yeah, because what's happening here, we can see the shadow in her neck. See the difference?
do this.
Right? That's what it's doing. Yeah, so you can see it's bringing it up maybe like half a stop or something. Oh, if we remove the grid, that's going to make a grid's going to make a big difference. So one of the things with the grid is because it narrows the spread, right? It gets trickier to put reflectors in. So if you want to get really good, that's probably going to increase by a couple of stops anyways. So we're going to eat up we're going to take the grid away, which now we also have to kind of watch our background because I'm a little concerned it's going to the background. But we'll see. Because one problem with the butterfly style of light is that it's hard to keep it off the background because of the angle. Yeah. So it's going to hit the background. It's going to affect our color saturation. So we'll check that. We'll check it before we wreck it. Could throw a flag up. Getting all kinds of crazy over here with flags and cutters. Okay.
Not so bad on the background.
Yeah, it's not in the background too bad.
But you dropped it a bunch, huh?
Yeah.
I did.
So we can see it filled in. So that's without the grid and with the reflector, and this is with the grid. So we can see the difference. You're definitely getting more
I
spread.
maybe need to angle this down a tiny bit and raise the power a bit.
Okay. Okay. We're adjusting our angles. Angle of incident. Something like that. Other questions while we're adjusting?
Same top.
Is it warm in here? Is it me? He's blasting me with this Array 300. No, it's okay. I'll just sweat to death. It's life of being in the theater.
Well, you got nothing to absorb the sweat up top.
Yeah, in the theater. Nice. Right, so that actually, you can see that it's filled in more under our chin because we got more light to reflect, right? It doesn't seem to hit the background too much, so I think we're good there. That looks pretty neat. What do you think? Decent? Let's change the color of the background again, just because we can.
Red?
Ooh, red.
We're shifting. Am I purple or the new?
I like blue. I like purple, but I agree with you.
We're getting... You forgot about red? How do you forget about red?
Like that it exists or
She didn't know that red was a color. So, I don't know, if we were to close all the windows, where's the, oh, we don't have the data light down here, do we? Do you think Fernando's watching the live stream? Fernando? Yeah, can you ask her to bring down the data light? We might be able to pull it off. I might be able to throw a gobo up. We'll see. If we introduce the gobo light to this, we're gonna have to close all the windows and stuff because we'll have to try to eliminate some of the daylight. We'll see if we can pull that off. Well, you've got a question about using a gobo. I mean, we do have like a board with some lines cut in it, but it's not a real gobo. Do we still have that actually? Let me see if we have that. I want to look. The board with the slats cut in it. Oh, we could just do that. You have that same board, yeah. See, Seth also sells those. He's got a little side business over here. Do you have one that's like a smiley face? Oh. No, actually, you definitely didn't cut that.
You know who did that? Rick Sam.
Yeah, this is like somebody cut that with a butter knife. Yeah, right. They chewed through it.
Rick Sam.
This is the mice that come in here at night are the ones that did that. Do you have your little like illegal razor thing that you cut things with? Can we make it?
First of all, it's a scalpel.
Yes.
What do you want to do?
Like something cool. Like a smiley face or something. Nothing satanic. I knew where he was going with that one. Oh, jeez.
Why am I doing this on live stream right
I don't know why you're doing it. I know why he's doing it because I asked him to. So yeah, we're gonna make a gobo. You have chocolate?
now? Oh yeah, you
You
strong.
love chocolate. Thank you, Fernando. Were you watching the live stream? Or were you really?
Yeah.
Nice. Woohoo! All right, so this is the data light. I wonder. Hi, Mom. I wonder who else is watching. I wonder if Jackie Palladino. Oh no, she's here. Now I feel like we need to use that because you made it. I'm also a little nervous.
I'm just picturing your face. That's all.
That just looks really violent.
You know, I love how I have this violent, angry rep, by the way. It's like my favorite.
That's pretty cool. Thanks, Seth. We'll try that first, and then we'll use the real one, and we'll see what the difference is. Well, no, I mean it'll be good to have a comparison.
You might also have a cinefoil one somewhere.
No, it's good. This is good. It's like a star with like holes.
I was gonna do a pentagram.
Oh, I know you were. Oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah, it's a little overexposed. Are we sure we're not getting anything on the background from the beauty dish?
Maybe. Find out.
So we're switching the background to make it a little chocolatey.
We dropped it only half the stop. We dropped it like, I think it's probably
The gel.
It's called chocolate. Yep, this one's chocolate. I mean, I usually use. Oh, that actually does look nice as the background. I usually use it on skin tone. I love me a chocolate gel.
I did. I dropped it.
Yeah, so now we've got like this warmish, right? So again, we do extreme things like the blue and the red to kind of like show you, hey, shocking, but you can make the gray slightly different, right? So we can make it a little bit warm or a little bit cool. You know, we can kind of play around with it a little bit, and that's chocolate right there. Can I just see it without the backlight, just so I can see what? I'm just curious if what the front light's doing. If we should bring the grid back up or not. That's hitting it a little bit. Yeah, I don't think it's affecting it too much. I mean, it's not a stark black, so we are getting some infiltration, but I think it looks pretty good. But let's see what happens if we were to throw like a pattern back there. With I think with the color gel and then this in addition.
Wait, we're gonna move
We'll just point it at the background and see what happens, right? We're going free form here. All right. Yeah, so we have a modeling light, so we should be able to turn that bad boy on. Cool. Yeah, so let's kill all the house lights so I can see better. Now we're turning on the lights in here so that I can see, not so much because we need to do. Oh, yeah, I see it. Kind of. Well, that's not going to show up at all. Yeah, I think it's too big.
Bring the light as
Oh.
a whole over here.
Yeah. I'm just going to close these windows just to make it easier to see.
And you know what it is? Yo.
What is that?
Cut this thing for the Adorama.
Is that an Adorama logo? By the way,
Easy on it, go easy on it.
so let's just cut this. Like while we were doing this, like yeah, that was amazing. All right, good. This is like an Adorama logo.
I even have the actual Adorama D.
We'll see if that's going to work. Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. Is it going to be in the shot though?
It is.
Yeah, we have to move the light back.
Yeah.
So it's all about control. Well, the problem is eventually it starts to hit her, so we're going to have to flag it too. So you can probably see, I don't know how well you can see on the live stream, but you control kind of the density, like how sharp it is and how unsharp it is by its distance relative to the light. Also, we're getting a lot of spread around it, so we'll see what's actually going to happen. Yeah, it's super soft. It's interesting, though. Actually, step out for a second, Jay. I don't care about you anymore. Let's just see what it looks like without. That's our new subject. Yeah, so basically, because of the fact that it's so far away, we're not getting the, but you get the general idea. If we get, I mean, I'll get it as sharp as I can. Is that, it's in the shot, of course. Is it blocking it though? Can you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you get the general idea of it. I mean, it's a matter of the math of getting it further. That's actually a great shot. Modern art, right there. Okay, so, I mean, generally, there you go, Seth, thank you. So the idea basically is that you can throw a pattern on the background just by cutting it. It's all relative to the distance of the light from the thing. Now, one of the problems with using like strobes for this is that we only have this 7-inch reflector, blah, blah. If you were using something like a constant light, like a Fresnel style light, you could focus the light, which would also give you a third option as far as being able to control it. But better than that, we're going to throw the data light up, I think. Yeah, better than that would be to use something that's made for it, which is this dado light that I have that Fernando so nicely brought down. For a second, I thought I lost it. I thought you were going to set it up while I was doing that. That's okay. So this is the dado light. This is the constant light, and it can be fitted with a projector attachment, and that projection attachment is going to allow us to throw patterns. Now they do make some attachments for strobes to do this as well, although they are not as common. They do exist. Okay, so this is the projector.
It's got a pattern in there.
And it even has a pattern in there. Oh, look at that.
The window blinds?
Window blinds, yeah. So, yeah, okay. So this is the projector, right? So essentially it's going to allow me to focus here. And I've got a pattern, window blinds, right? So we're going to drop this in. Now, of course, this is a tungsten light, and it's not tremendously bright. So now we're going to have to start messing around with our exposure in order to get this thing to come out. So we'll see what we can actually pull off here. Because again, one of the problems that we have is that if our light from our room affects our shot, right, it's going to obviously add color into our shadows. It can do a whole lot of stuff. So, you know, and where you put it, like this discussion was before, is kind of how you want it to look. You know, if I want it to feel like it's coming from a window on this side of the room, then I want to put it more to the side so it drags across the background, right? Or I could put it more in the center, it'll be more straight behind her. It really just depends, you know, what you want to do with it. I think probably a little bit to the side is probably good, right? So we've got shining there. We're gonna have to kill all these lights to be able to see anything, I think. And then we're just gonna have to figure out our exposure based on the, so this is one of the, now we're going dark online. So now this is one of those things that basically, oh, you can kind of see I'm like a silhouette. So, okay, that's nothing. That's our regular exposure. You're probably gonna have to go, yeah, okay, yeah. Because remember we're at f8, so we're probably gonna have to go something like half a second or something, I'm guessing. So this is going to be not perfect, but again, we're just giving kind of a general idea. So we're going to a quarter of a second, f8, 100 ISO. The dado is approximately $1,200 with the projector. Ah, I see. She's also there. I didn't realize that. So it's right behind her head. No, it's okay. That's why I was like, why is there nothing? There we go. That's good. Let's make it bigger. There we go. Cool. So yeah, the dado itself is about $700-ish, and you can use it for any of your movie making or photography needs. And then the projector, I think, is like another $5-ish, but you get it together as a kit for about $1,200. And of course, it doesn't just do the blinds. You can put anything you want. You can put smiley faces. You can put hearts, shamrocks, clovers, orange moons, blue. What are all the Lucky Charms? Horseshoes. Yes, purple.
Horseshoes.
There you go. Okay. We'll figure it out eventually. Yeah, right. They're not actually. Okay, so there we go. So now it's looking very. Ooh, and we can actually see too. Remember, we turned off all our lights, so now we know that. So this is half a second. Okay. Yeah, and we're actually not getting any light on her really. She's pretty much a silhouette. So now our flash should light her up and give us what we want. So let's see what the flash does. Let's kick the flash in. And remember, we haven't changed our aperture. So theoretically, the flash should still be properly exposing, although I have a feeling the background flash is probably going to blow the dado away. You can turn it off, yeah. So we're just going to turn the front light on, I think. I think I turned that light off on the floor. We'll find out in a second. Yeah, there you are. It is off, right? Yeah. Cool. All right. And again, because we're in this pattern that's butterfly pattern, and again, the light's hitting the background a bit. So we're not getting a complete black background back there. We would have to change the angle of our light to do that. And maybe we will do that because it'll add more drama since we're basically, actually, let's throw the grid on there. Since somebody said earlier online. Yeah, let's go a little more side lit, even though I wouldn't normally do that. But since we're going for more of a funky,
Like a noirish.
yeah, like a kind of a noirish, noir-ish. And we might even add the grid. They can see. How you feeling, Jackie?
Good.
Doing all right? Questions? No? It's getting out of control now? Is that what's happening? Yeah, okay. It does. It usually gets out of control by this point. So MagMod, right? This is somebody asked online. I have not fully used the system, but they do have a system that they can throw grids and stuff, and not grids, but gobos and patterns and stuff, and the actual, I'm sure it probably works fine. It'd be a good option for somebody that wants to work with Flash, because if you already have speed lights, it's going to be basically not be, you're going to allow you to be able to use not half a second or whatever we're shooting at here. Probably good to work with. Yeah. Noirish. Sure, right. So, right, if I was actually trying to create a more noir-style portrait and I wanted to use all flash, I could use either a projection attachment that's made for a flash unit, which Seth allowed me to borrow his a while back. He has one for an old Speedotron system or a new Speedotron system, whatever you want to use it for. Or Profoto makes one. You've got Bowens makes them. Similar system goes on a flash. Then you could use a Fresnel-style light that goes onto your flash. Again, Profoto, all the major companies make attachments for their flash units that turn it into a Fresnel-style light, which is basically that focusable spot feel to get that more of the feel. Don't let me an echo all of a sudden, which I wasn't getting before. How's that? Oh, there we go. Ah, okay. All right, so now it's getting a little bit more kind of on the moody, side. We've got the grid in there. Again, we're mixing our exposure. We're doing a half a second exposure. And the reason why we're doing a half a second exposure is to get that light, right, from the background in. If we went to our regular 200th of a second or whatever, we would lose that background light. So that's why it's for. It's not for her at all. It's really just for that light. Yeah. Nice. What'd you do? A little? No reflector. Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah, it's too much.
I was thinking maybe like a
Well, maybe from like way back here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. That did a little bit. Yeah, sometimes the reflector can be too close. So basically, we're just creating, this kind of mixed mood. And
So they're asking what you did to get it this dramatic. Just a quick overview.
right. Well, first of all, you got to have Jackie Palladino walk randomly into your audience. No. Okay, so I'm going to roll through what's here, just for people who kind of tune in online, or those of you who fell asleep during the middle and you're just waking up now and you're like, oh, we turned the lights back on, but I don't. Right, exactly. So we of course we've been doing all different stuff, and I also want to point out, because I didn't say it, so I'm just going to throw it out there now, because it was a weird transition between the chocolate to this. This light is the tungsten balanced light. That's why if you notice in the photo, that window light, if you will, that's going through is warm, right? Because we're set to flash white balance right now. So it actually worked, and because we're already going from a warm shot, so I didn't even think to mention it, but that is important. It's not a neutral light in the background right now. It's actually warm relative to our white balance. If we wanted to fix that, we'd need to either gel one light or the other to get it to be more neutral. But just so you know, tungsten, flash. So we've got a Profoto silver beauty dish with the grid, and we moved it over to the side. We moved it over to the side so that none of the light from the flash would hit our background, giving us essentially a stark black background, right? And with that background, we're able to light it any way we want. The way we lit it was with the data light. We threw the pattern across the background. It's simple as that. We just dialed in our exposure. We knew that our flash was set at f8, and we didn't want to mess with that. So we have our flash set at f8. We dialed in our shutter speed until our background light looked good. We took some shots without the flash to make sure none of the light in the space was affecting our shot, which it wasn't. And then we were good to go. I mean, in order to accomplish that, we had to turn off all the lights. We had to close the windows. Whereas if you remember earlier, we were shooting with the windows open and all the lights on because we were using the flash to overpower it. So it's two different ways to approach the subject, basically. Good. Questions about that? Where are we at? We should see Alex coming down any second now. Are we texting him?
I don't have a number.
Oh, maybe he's just going to randomly appear. Hopefully he doesn't forget. So Alex is going to come down. Alex is our new pro for the guitars. Do you guys know we have guitars upstairs? This is relatively new. I think keyboards too, right? They don't let me go up there.
Yeah, drums too.
And drums. You a drummer? You look like a drummer. So Alex is going to come down. He was going to jam in a minute. So we'll any questions while we're waiting for Alex? Because he's going to show up here and he's going to start jamming out. Yeah, go get him. Any questions online that I can answer while we're waiting for Alex to jam?
Let me see.
We're manning the computer. Anything good about? Yep.
Difference between like the folding beauty light or the beauty dishes versus like the hard ones. Any comparisons between like the shadows that it pulls or just how they work in general?
Yeah. So the question is like one of these collapsible beauty dishes versus a solid one. I mean, I feel like the quality of light you get from a solid reflector is a little bit different, especially when you're talking about hard reflectors, like things like silvers. So I mean, I haven't actually put them side by side and tested them, but my feeling would be that if you're going to go with silver, the hard one is probably going to be a little bit more consistent, and especially if you're not going to use a grid or something on it. Whereas I feel like the softer one might end up looking a little bit more like a small octagon. It's still a beauty dish. I mean, what makes a beauty dish really is the deflector, the part in the center. This is Alex, by the way. I don't know if you have to set up. You can set up and we won't. He's going to jam for us. He's going to play what the song you're going to play is called Daniel's Theme, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So it's probably like some clown music or something. No, he's got to set it up. Yeah. So that deflector, right, that little piece in the center of the beauty dish is what makes it the beauty dish, right? So the idea here is you're putting it really super close, and it's very shallow. So I found personally the ones that collapse are close, but they're not usually as shallow. And like I said, because they're not solid, especially if you're going with silver, they're probably not as perfectly specular. But I think they're pretty good. I mean, I've used them. The Pro Photo one I have, the silver one, I actually like it. But I would say that I wouldn't not use, if I really wanted a beauty dish, I would bring my beauty dish, but I use it a lot because I have it in my bag and it's there and it kind of works as a nice small, especially if you're shaping it. This grid is killer. So, yeah. Other questions? If that answered that, or you came all the way from Miami and you only had one question? Did you come all the way from Miami just for the one question?
We're asking what you would add to that data to make it the same color temperature.
Oh, okay. So the question about the color temperature. So the dado light is tungsten balance. The flash is daylight balance. What would I add to the dado? Nothing. The reason why I would add nothing to the dado is the flash is way more powerful. If I was going to try to match them, I would always gel the flash. So I would gel my flash with a CTO, color temperature orange gel, which would make it tungsten balance, and I would switch it in the camera. Always gel the most powerful light. You pretty much ready? All right, so thanks, guys. Next week we're doing, do we know what we're doing next week? Character portraits, I think. So next week's going to be character portraits. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can always tune in at 12. Alex is going to rush us out. So he's going to play, no, you're not going to play Rushed, right? No, he's going to play something. We're not sure. So, yeah, he's about to make this thing rock. Boom, there we go. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. You going to dance?